Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another Filmmakers Series at the Burbank International Film Festival. My name is Jeff Rector. I'm the artistic director for the festival. I'll be moderating the panel tonight, and we are super excited to have a longtime friend, award-winning filmmaker, Bryan Michael Stoller is here. Give yourself a hand, a salute, or give yourself a hand. Bryan is in the third edition of his book, Filmmaking for Dummies. Why don't we start there, Bryan? Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that book came about? And you've made over 13 films, is that correct? Feature films.
I think so. Yeah, thanks guys for coming in to our Zoom seminar, and thank you to Jeff for inviting me. Jeff and I go way back, at least 30 years. So we were about, I guess we knew each other since we were 5 years old.
That's right.
And yeah.
Making movies in the sandbox.
That's right. Animating little clay characters and the whole thing.
Yeah, claymation.
That's right. So yeah, I just briefly, Filmmaking for Dummies, the first edition came out 20 years ago. And the second edition was done in 2009. And the third edition was just recently about a year and a half ago. And obviously between 2009 and 2019, there was a lot of changes, technology wise. I believe that in 2009, when I wrote the second edition, the smartphone was very new. So that gives you an idea of technology. When I wrote the first one, I think we were barely into nonlinear digital editing. So it just shows the advance of technology. It's pretty amazing. But if you want to hear a funny story, and you can relate this to being a filmmaker and having, the confidence to go ahead and do something. When I had always wanted to write a book on filmmaking, and I thought, well, I'd love to write one for the Dummies series, but they're huge. They're never gonna let me write a Dummies book. So I wrote.
You're no dummy.
Because I know, yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a series called The Idiot's Guide. And so that was sort of the parody or the offshoot of Dummies. So I wrote to The Idiot's Guide and they turned me down. So I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. So I submitted to Dummies, and Dummies was impressed with my samples and everything and my credits. And they said, okay. So it just shows you not to, to doubt yourself. You got to have that confidence. If you want to make a film and you've written a script, and you've got to believe in yourself and trust yourself. So that's a perfect example.
And certainly don't put all your eggs in one basket and let the first no, dissuade you from moving forward.
Exactly. And a big part of this business is not being deterred by, the business and what's going on and the stories that you hear, and, a lot of the made up stories, or this is impossible and all that. Between me and Jeff, we've done some pretty amazing things, I think. So if we can do it, you guys can do it.
So a lot of your films co-star, God rest his soul, your former pet. He's starred in quite a few of your films, Wizard of Paws and First Dog. Why don't you talk a little bit about how that came about, and for those that are interested, how animals, especially dogs, play a big part in movies and getting them made, right?
Yeah. Well, I found a niche with dog films. And there is very, it's much more limited independent films having independent films for family stuff. A lot of people do horror. Horror is actually a big market for independent films. And family was kind of untapped for independent films back when I 18 years ago when I started doing dog movies. And that was inspired by my dog, Little Bear, at the time. And he was just so natural. And because I was a filmmaker and a director, I saw how smart he was. And I thought he became my muse, you know, and we all as writers or filmmakers, we need a muse. And so he inspired me to write movies like, well, First Dog actually came from, when I got Little Bear, I got him from a gal I met at a coffee shop. But a month later, she called me and she said, I didn't tell you this, but Little Bear was fostered by Nancy Reagan. And so next thing I know, they send a car to picks me up, and I go to the Reagan house in Bel Air, and Ronald Reagan was still alive back then. This was 2002 or 2003. And found out that Patty Reagan and this gal that I met had rescued the dog and gave it to Nancy. And that's not the dog, that's the niece of the dog that you hear. But they rescued the dog, and Nancy Reagan was fostering the dog, but just couldn't keep him because he was just too wild, you know, like my new dog, Honey Bear. So, and that inspired me. He was kind of like a first dog. So that's how I came up with First Dog. And he was so good in the movie. And the movie did quite well. So I ended up doing The Amazing Wizard of Paws. And I ended up doing Santa Stole Our Dog and Light Years Away. So, you know, that's how it came about was, you know, that was my muse and that was my passion. So that's what I tell people is write about something and make a film that you're passionate about, because it's going to show. Otherwise, you know, it's just going to end up being a job.
Well, there's a great setup. Why don't we've got a trailer from First Dog? Why don't we run that? Let everybody give a taste of it, what exactly it is, and we'll talk some more.
American Cinema presents.
We progress through strength, not weakness.
Everything's gonna be okay. Big Mike, promise.
You mean Teddy really is your dog?
Let's go! Let's go! Well, that's the first dog of the United States of America. Must be a big reward.
Go!
Wow, 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 wow.
It's the 4th of July!
You say jump, I say hi, do this, do that, and I'll try. Your every wish is my command. Got me eating right out of your hand. Eager to please, yeah, that'd be me. You call the shots, I'm on your leash. Do anything that you ask of me. It's a doggone truth, I'm eager to please. So eager to please.
Can I have a piece of pie?
There you have it.
There we go.
The
Yeah.
trailer for First Dog. The Oval Office that was used in the West Wing, wasn't it?
Part of it was actually what we did was we built that set, believe it or not, for about $1,500. I worked with a school and I mentored the school up in San Jose, California, and we built the set. And then I arranged a field trip to Warner Brothers with the students, and they picked out some of the props and the actual Oval Office rug from the West Wing, and you know, to set dress it. So it was a combination of that. But yeah, the whole set was built for like $1,500.
That's
Yeah,
that's
low budget.
that's independent filmmaking at its best. That
Yeah,
is,
isn't it?
congratulations. That's
Thank you. Thank you,
that's thinking outside the box, and it looks good. Eric Roberts played the president.
President. Yeah, yeah.
You always get a couple of names in your films, which is so important to getting distribution, even if it's just one or two recognizable faces.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And if you notice, Dolly Parton did actually 4 original songs for the film. So that was on the poster, and that made a big difference in getting the film picked up, because it gives your film what you call credibility, you know.
I know
Yeah.
Dolly Parton didn't do 4 songs for $1,500.
No, she actually did them. She actually did them for free.
You're going to produce my next film.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Well, what happened was, I had Dolly. I knew Dolly from a project that I tried to get going 20 years ago that unfortunately didn't get going. And I kept in touch with her. And then when I wrote First Dog, I thought, oh, she'd be great to play, you know, the mother in the film, the foster mother. And she loved the script, but she was on tour and wasn't able to do it. And also she said, I couldn't afford her. And then she said, but how about I write you some songs? And she said, no charge.
Wow.
So she actually wrote me 3-4 songs for the film, and they were perfect. They were great. And she's just the biggest sweetheart. And she's exactly as you would think she is based on what you've seen in interviews and things. So, you know, sometimes you luck out. And a lot of the times I've gotten names in my films, it's because I've either serendipity, I've run into somebody, or I know somebody who knows somebody, or you make a phone call and you get lucky.
Did she then release those songs on some sort of a CD? She didn't just write them for the movie and forget about it, right?
Yes, actually, that's a very good question, Jeff. She actually, what happened was she gave me the songs, but I let her keep, of course, the publishing rights, the recording rights,
Sure.
synchronization rights. And so every time the film is shown, she gets all the royalties. And then she did put them on a couple of her CDs. And then when she was playing at the Hollywood Bowl, she actually played a couple of the songs, which is really cool. So,
Wow.
you know, and she mentioned these are from the movie First Dog. So, so there's all kinds of
You
ways.
can't pay for that kind of publicity.
I know, right? So, but this all comes from hard work too, you know? So
Right.
you just look at all your networking, look at who you know, look at who, you know, who might know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and get out and network. Network is probably the most important thing, as you know, Jeff, too. And
Let's
talking
talk
about
briefly about writing or finding the right script. I know you and I write most of our own projects, but
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, you know, it all starts with the script, especially nowadays, because the studios, the streamers, everybody, they're looking for stories. They're looking for scripts. There's too many directors. There's too many filmmakers now. But if you've got a good script and you attach yourself to it, that's the way to get in. That's the best way to get in. You know, if you want to direct, you want to produce, you write the script or you get the rights to the script. And that's what gives you the power. I mean, that's what gave way back when Sylvester Stallone wanted to do Rocky. You know, he wrote Rocky and people wanted it, but they didn't want him attached. And he said, the only way you can have the script is if I star in this movie. And that's how it happened. And that's how most projects nowadays are getting done, is you attach yourself to it. So,
And Stallone kept saying no.
Yeah.
Or the studios kept saying, no, 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 you're not a star. We can't let you star in it. And he kept holding out until they finally said yes. So, I mean, a lot of us would have caved at some point, right? And said, look, they're not going to let me do it.
right.
I'll just sell it. But he held out and the rest is history.
Yep, exactly. And you'll notice that a lot of the films coming out now, especially the streaming ones, they're written by and directed by, or, you know, they're produced by the, you know, the producer who went ahead and got the rights to it, you know, of the script. So
Right.
It's either or. If you can write a script, great, attach yourself. If you don't want to write the script, find a good script and option it. And you can option a script for as low as $1. You know, I mean, the option is just, you know, giving you enough time to show it around to your contacts. And if it gets made, then you've made up some kind of a deal memo that then they get paid more for the script, you know, the 50 or 100 per month.
Right.
You know, so and if you want to go looking for scripts, you know, a lot of great places, there's a lot of great places to find them. I've used inktip.com
Right.
is a real popular place. It's actually very good for finding scripts or for selling scripts. If you've got a script, you can put it on inktip.com. But if you go to inktip.com and you're looking for a certain genre, you know, if you want a horror genre, you want it to be a comedy with few locations, you put in all those specifics and it'll find those scripts for those specifics. So if it's low budget, if it's, you know, the budget's under 50,000, you know, one location, 2 actors, it lets you put in all those items,
Right.
and it'll bring up, you know, it'll bring up those scripts. So that's a great place to look for scripts.
But just to be clear, doesn't Inktip get a piece of the pie? There's some sort of, if you go through Inktip, I'm pretty sure that they're attached in some form, even if it's just a percentage, if a deal is made, if it comes through them.
I think, you know, that's a good question. I don't know if they take any percentage on the actual script. I think it's when you submit something, there might be a fee to submit your script, but it's been a while since I've used it. But I know it's reasonable because everybody's been using it, you know.
And it's all spelled out on the
Yeah.
Inktip homepage. So just do some research and it'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And what it
Yeah.
isn't. But yeah, that is absolutely
Yeah.
a great,
Yeah.
great resource.
And there's other places to find scripts too, but going back to the networking and finding scripts and finding crew and finding, you know, things for your production, film festivals are an excellent, phenomenal way of networking. And so if you guys, you know, are planning on the Burbank Film Festival, do it. You know, go to all the parties, go to all the networking events for the festival, go to the screenings. That's where you're going to meet, you know, you're going to meet actors. You're going to get to see the actors work.
Right.
You're going to meet, you know, writers. You're going to meet composers, possibly, actually very possible investors, people who fund films.
Sure.
Because a lot of the films that are there, the investors are there to see their work up on the screen, to see what,
Right.
you know, what they financed up on the screen. So if you guys, especially if you're local, and if you're not local, fly into Burbank. Jeff puts on a great festival. The festival's been going for, I know, more than 20 years because I entered the festival way
Actually,
back.
it's our 14th year.
Okay, 14 years.
This year.
Okay, well, I entered.
Wind back the time machine a
Yeah.
few years.
Well, I entered 14 years ago, so okay, so it was 14 years ago. So they know what they're doing, and you know, it's close to Hollywood, it's in Los Angeles, so it's actually one of the top festivals because you're going to get you have a much better chance of meeting some, you know, some bigwigs because Burbank is a hop and skip from, you know, Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, Disney. I mean, Disney and Warner Brothers are
We're in the media capital of the world.
Yeah, so you
The
know,
story I love to tell is I won an award the very first year, and I was at one of the parties, and I see this guy with tats all over his face, kind of look like Mike Tyson. I'm like, who is this guy? So I went over, started talking to him. We started talking about horror. We hit it off, and we've written three films together
there you go.
as writing partners, and one of them still distributed worldwide. So you never know who you're going to meet, and you make, sometimes it's just lifelong friends
Absolutely.
you meet at the festivals,
Yeah,
and sometimes
absolutely.
that's good enough.
Yeah.
So let's we've got another clip here from another film. I think it's with Christopher Knight. Which one is that?
Light Years Away.
Light Years Away, I
Christopher
believe.
Knight and Tim Payton and
You want
Adrian.
to do a
Burke.
setup for that?
This is just a sci-fi love story that I actually wrote probably 30 years ago, and it took me over 20 years to get it made. So it just shows you patience. And I couldn't find anybody to finance it and distribute it with the big studios, and I finally made it myself.
That's what I did with my film Revamp. Sometimes if we don't do it, it doesn't get made.
That's
Well,
right.
let's take a look at the trailer for or a scene from
Light Years
Light
Away.
Years Away.
these two. Man, the singles life.
Are you working on divorce 3 and 4?
You seen anyone? We got modern technology on our side. Old Omni here can produce miracles.
Oh, no.
Sick 'em, boy.
You can't really be serious.
They work in the cloning department. I think they're really being studied there.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Hey, baby, what's your names? I bring you an unbelievable once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to finally go out with some real macho dudes.
We know nothing about you.
Don't worry, my master just got me fixed. And trust me, I'm not just another pretty face. May I have your telephone coordinates, please?
Christopher Knight, of course, Peter from the Brady Bunch.
Yep, yep. And at the time, his girlfriend, who became his wife, now they're divorced, Adrienne Curry, was also in it. That was the character playing Joey. That's my friend Tim Payton, who's a very talented actor, and you'll see him in most of my movies. So again, it's who you know, you see. So the fact that he knows me, but not just that, he's really, really talented. So if you've got some talented friends, put them in your films. Sometimes they work cheaper, even if they don't want to.
Yeah, and sometimes they can be more trouble than strangers
And
that
there
I've
he-
hired.
And there he is. And what did you just say?
Real
Oh,
cheap.
really
Real
cheap.
cheap.
Yeah,
Hey,
there's
Tim.
him right there.
How'd it work out with the clones? So you cast twins to play clones. That was cute. That was a cute gag.
Yes, you know about twins, right, Jeff?
I do.
Yeah.
I surely do. And that little robot you used in a couple of your films.
Yes, the robot worked really cheap. Yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
great about robots. Getting back to your book
yeah.
a little bit, just go through some of the chapters. Let's talk about the book itself. And,
This one right
and
here.
what's covered in it? Filmmaking for Dummies. Let's sell this thing.
Okay. Well, Dan Aykroyd wrote the cover endorsement for it. And if you guys remember Jerry Lewis, he wrote, well, Dan Aykroyd wrote the cover endorsement and Jerry Lewis wrote the foreword to the book. But I'm actually really proud of it. And it's got really good reviews on Amazon, but it was almost like me taking all the information that I've learned since I was a kid and putting it into one encyclopedia. And I swear, every time I make a movie, I pick up my book and I read through it, I review it, because there's things that I forget, that I wrote in here and that I've put into action. And for example, I'll go and look at the distribution chapter and the investor chapter. And there's things in here that if you don't read my book, there's some really important stuff. Like it says here, when you get a distributor, if they don't make more than 200,000 in sales overseas, automatically revert back to you. And I forgot about that. When I read my book, when I was talking with distributors, I said, I got to put that in there. And thank God I did for one distributor, because they were cheating on me. And so they were saying they weren't getting anything. So I was able to get the rights back without taking them to court because it was in the agreement. So there's little tidbits in my book that everything is from experience, trial and error, mistakes that I made, things that I learned. And so, like I said, I'm really proud of the book because I think it helps filmmakers,
Any more, you want to share some more pearls of wisdom? Any quick little anecdotes or other, like the distributor that you can share? Or flip through it and just talk about the chapters. Tell us what the chapters are so the viewers have an idea of really what's in there.
It goes everywhere from, independent filmmaking, the difference between independent filmmaking and independent filmmaking. And what I hate is when the studios do movies and they call them independent, because they're not independent. When you see little films like Little Miss Sunshine or what was it, Little what was the movie? Was it Little Miss Sunshine?
I think so. They're low budget studio films, but they're
Right.
not independent.
Right, but then when you see them at the awards ceremony and they're sitting, and the head of the studio, of 20th Century Fox is sitting with the little independents.
Right.
That ain't a independent film. Independent is independent of the studio. It's low budget, all that stuff.
Any tips on finding cast and crew?
Yeah, well, again, cast and crew, film festivals, definitely. Productionhub.com is really good. Media Match is really good. So it's much, and Actors Access is excellent for finding actors. And
It's a great casting platform.
yeah,
I've used that. And also I'm a member of The Table. That
Okay, The Table
Mark
I'm not-
Zicree started, and that's if you can become you've got to need to be invited by a member to go to a meeting, then you can be part of The Table. And that is an incredible resource for finding all sorts of people.
okay.
You go to, I think, table.com to find more information about that, but that is also a great resource. And if you're not part of it, Brian, then you should be, and I'll help
Yeah.
you get into that.
That would be great. That
Really
would be great. Actually, one day I was on Sunset Boulevard. I was at a restaurant and I saw this stunning girl. And I rarely do this because it's so, Hollywood. But I went up to her and I talked to her and I said, you must be into modeling or acting. And she said, yeah, she was Miss Runner-Up for Miss Universe. Her name was Joyce Gerard. And I told her, I said, here's can I give you my card? Look me up, see that I'm legit. But I'm working on a film right now and Michael Jackson's doing a cameo. And I know this sounds, and
Yeah,
I said,
right.
"Just look me up," and the whole thing, and she did. Long story short, she had never acted before. She starred in the movie. Michael Jackson does a cameo because I was friends with Michael Jackson. That's a whole other story. I got a bunch of other name actors in it. Charlie Schlatter, who was in a lot of movies back in the days, Police Academy and a whole bunch of other movies. Stuart Pankin, who's a famous character actor. He was also in that movie with Michael Douglas, Fatal Attraction. And anyway, Joyce went on to have a great career after that. It was her first movie. And so, it's true. You can discover talent, out at restaurants and stuff. And I think if you're diplomatic enough and polite enough that people will, listen to you, so that was a kind of a funny story.
What was the film with Michael Jackson?
That was called Miss Castaway and the Island Girls.
I think that's a perfect segue for that clip.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
I have to potty. That tickles.
I speak to you in this time of need.
It's not even Sunday. Where's the remote?
Listen, my son. Yes, you. This has become much more serious.
What the heck are you talking about, sir?
I have assigned Agent MJ to inform you further.
Agent MJ?
Good evening, Agent Mike. The Ark will sail for 40 days and 40 nights. You must stop it.
But why? It's our only way off the island.
You have to stop it, Mike. If the Ark sails, it will trigger the most terrible, horrific storm, the perfect storm, if you will. History shall repeat itself unless you, Mike, can prevent it. The only way to stop this catastrophic event is to destroy the Ark. The world is depending on you. I'm depending on you.
I bought all your albums.
God bless you.
Boy, you must be friends with Michael Jackson to get a cameo in an independent film.
Yeah, and you know what? And I asked him, but he said, you got to pay me. I said, how much? And he said, $100. So you got to make it legal. So I paid Michael Jackson $100.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. Yasmin Bleeth starred in that. Is that right?
Yasmin Bleeth was another film, which is another funny story. She starred in a movie I did called Undercover Angel. And James Earl Jones was in that. He played a judge. And Yasmin Bleeth, people may remember her from her Baywatch days.
Sure.
But it's funny, when I did the film, this film is about 18 years old. But when I did the film, she was still very popular. And the only reason I got her was this is one of the rare fate things that has happened in my life. I was at a restaurant with a girlfriend and we were sitting down at a booth and there was a purse in the booth. And we thought, well, let's just sit here. Maybe she'll come back, whoever's purse it is. And then there's this girl with her hair pulled back and she's looking around and she comes over. I said, are you looking for something? She goes, yes, I lost my purse. And I go, were you sitting here? She says, yes. And she said, thank you so much. And she left. And I didn't know she was anybody. And my girlfriend said, do you know who that was? And I said, no. She said, that was Yasmin Bleeth. I said, who's Yasmin Bleeth? She said, oh, you don't know her? She's on Baywatch. So anyway, I was at the time casting for Undercover Angel and I couldn't find a name for the lead because the budget was only like $120,000. So I once my girlfriend told me who she was, I called the agent and I told him the story and said, can I send you a script for Yasmin? This is how we met. Sent the script, long story short, Yasmin loved the script. I met her at Starbucks.
Great meeting place in Hollywood.
Yeah, and we met. It was actually the one up at Mulholland Drive. And she agreed to do the film. And that's the story.
For $120,000 and you had nothing left for anything?
Well, no, the budget was $120,000, the whole budget.
No, I know, I was kidding.
But actually, she normally was getting about $100,000, per, yeah, and it was just, and then and she wanted the lead guy in the film, and I didn't know who he was. His name was Dean Winters, and he was doing a show called Oz at the time, and he's since gone on to do, John Wick. A lot of people know him from the Mayhem commercials.
Yeah, he's Mayhem and the insurance.
Yeah, and I think, do you have a clip from that?
Undercover Angel.
I think you do.
I do.
With James Earl Jones.
Thank you, young lady. I'm sorry we cannot allow you to stay in the courtroom. You are a cutie.
Thank you, my honor.
Please show it to counsel. Since the defense has not objected to the reading of this letter, I will therefore present it for the record as the child's statement. It would be nice. You will pardon my smile, but the spelling is not quite, no, the spelling is unique. It would be nice if you can read my letter out loud. I love my mummy terribly, but she doesn't have time to play with me like my daddy does. My mummy is like my mummy. My daddy, Harrison, is like my best friend. Whatever decision you make, Mr. Judge, I know it will be the best decision. I just don't want anybody angry at each other. Do you like candy tarts? I hope you do, because I have put some in here. Here is my card. Is in here, too, from Jenny Morrison.
James Earl Jones, Yasmin Bleeth, Michael Jackson. You've worked with some terrific people.
Yeah, it's, over the years, it's hard work. And the way that I got James Earl Jones, the little girl, she, like I mentioned, she did the Welch's juice commercials. And my mom in Canada said, have you seen the Welch's juice commercials? This kid is really good. So it was my mom's idea. And then they had bloopers of her on TV bloopers. And I used to work on that show doing comedy shorts. So I called up the show. They gave me the number. I called the mom. And that's how I ended up getting Emily Mae Young. And then I called up James Earl Jones' manager, who I did not have a connection to. And I wrote him a letter about the film and the little girl that's in it, and everything that's come together. And it's a nice, wholesome family film, and he would play the judge. And the manager got it to James Earl Jones. And a lot of times the agents and managers, you don't know if they actually send your material on to the talent. And next thing I know, the manager, who was a really, really nice guy, very down to earth, he said, James likes it, he'll do it. And he came on and we shot the whole thing in one day. It was probably about an 8-hour day. And James, I said, it's an easy shoot. You sit the whole day and we'll feed you sweet tarts. And that's what we did. Actually, we shot that in my hometown. I'm from Ottawa, Canada. And so we shot a lot of the film up there. It was cheaper back then. And James Earl Jones was a coin collector. So during the lunch break, I had someone from my crew take him to the Royal Canadian Mint. And he got a private tour of the mint, which he really, really enjoyed.
Well, I think this says a lot about you, Brian, as a producer, a director, and a person, that these people, feel comfortable with you, and you put them at ease, and obviously they look at your work ahead of time. But that says a lot about you as a filmmaker to be able to get these kind of people, especially to do favors, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think we have one more clip with your dog in it, with Ed Asner as Santa Claus.
Yeah, the trailer, yes, the trailer.
We honored Ed Asner at the festival.
And Ed, yeah,
a few years ago, we gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm glad he did, because we just lost him recently, and
yeah,
what a terrific talent.
He totally deserved the Lifetime. I'm glad you did that too. Yeah.
He was a president of SAG.
Yeah.
For many years.
He also played Santa Claus in the movie Elf with Will Ferrell.
Ah, you got him first.
Actually, I got him second, which actually helped. That helped get the film made because he played Santa in Elf. And so that gave us kind of an up. And talking about Up, he also was the voice of the old man in Up, Disney's Up.
Sure. Well, yeah, coming off the Tales of Elf, that would have certainly helped, wouldn't it?
Yep. Yep.
Will Ferrell comedy. Okay, let's take a look at Santa.
This is the 30-second commercial.
Santa stole my dog.
Santa stole our dog.
Who do you belong to?
My research has determined that he's a rare high cap.
Do we know whose dog I supposedly stole?
We're gonna see Santa Claus.
I've always got a cold.
Susie!
Brace yourself!
I've got an idea.
It looks like you even had some animation with that elf. What was?
Yeah, that was actually.
What was that?
This film was so low budget. Actually, that's a good thing to bring up now. The elf I got from stock footage, animation stock footage that I licensed. And I think it was like $40, $50 to license it. Stock footage libraries are a big thing nowadays. You go on to, what is it? Pond.com is one of the big ones. It's pond.com. And you just type in anything phone booth, cat stuck in phone booth, airplane diving, guy streaking across the street, anything, and clips will come up. And especially for independent filmmakers, it's great because the average clip is about $40. And some of the more ambitious ones aren't much more than like 150, 200. But when I say ambitious, I'm talking, like a runaway train or stuff that's, really ambitious. So that's actually where the elf came from.
We had somebody ask what the link is to the stock footage.
It's pond.com, pond.com. There's also Shutterstock.
Oh yeah, Shutterstock's great.
Yeah, SHUTTER stock.com. And what happens is when you buy the license, it asks you, are you buying a license for internet, television, or theatrical? And there's, I think, oftentimes they have a independent license. And so the license is a lot cheaper. But once you license that footage, that clip is yours in your project for eternity. I mean, and it's usually in the agreement. But yeah, you just read the agreement that's on the website. But every TV show that you see, or if you go on, the Investigation Discovery or any of these programs, a lot of clips you're seeing were not shot by the producers, the filmmakers. They're actually stock footage.
Well, they're really great for establishing shots.
Yeah.
Of, Florida or Columbia or Washington, D.C. or whatever. And that adds a lot of production value to your project. So for pennies on the dollar, that's probably, if there's one little tip we could probably offer, it's stock footage can really up the game.
Yeah.
On the look of your film. I don't know if you remember Royal Oaks Productions, Andrew Stevens' company.
Yeah, I remember.
I did I started a submarine action film for them, and they got outtakes from Hunt for the Red October.
Yeah.
So we had these great underwater scenes of nuclear submarines firing torpedoes and flying by the camera and all this. Never used in a movie, but that was, paid millions of dollars by Warner Brothers or whoever made it, and you get it for pennies on the dollar. So it really.
Well, actually, similar to your story, Jeff, in First Dog, I had clips of the White House and all this, and we shot some of the exterior of the White House also. But there were other aerial clips, of course, I couldn't get because you can't fly over the White House anymore.
Right.
So I got that. But there's a scene where the president shows up on a tarmac, and I was able to license footage from Air Force One with Harrison Ford. So the studios actually license footage from older films as famous as movies like Air Force One.
They're just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah.
On the shelf.
And so I was able to really sell it, and we were able to color correct it and make it match our digital footage. And people swear that, that I got a plane or painted it and make like Air Force One. So it's stock footage is really a lifesaver, because I remember 20 years ago, I just needed a shot of a lightning bolt from the sky, and it cost like $1,000 to license it. It had to be taken off the film and mastered to video. There were no digital libraries back then. Now people don't realize how easy it is to make a film nowadays and make it look good.
You want to talk about distribution for a minute? We talked about that briefly. Domestic and international distribution.
Yeah, distribution. That's probably one of the most important things. And I actually tell people when they read my book, Filmmaking for Dummies, is to go to the distribution chapter first. And the distribution chapter is probably
before you make the movie.
Yeah.
Figure out what distributors are looking for, right?
Exactly. And it'll save you time and money and the whole thing. So I tell people, don't read my book linear, read it non-linear. Go to the distribution chapter, which is like, around page 200-300, somewhere around there, and learn about distribution. And a lot of people don't know that there's two aspects, or actually two main territories or divisions of distribution, which of course you know very well, Jeff, and that is foreign and domestic. Foreign, it's a lot easier to get an independent film distributed. If your film is watchable, there's a real good chance you'll be able to sell it foreign, even without names. Now, if you can get a name, it's even better. But if you can get a foreign distributor separate from a domestic distributor, the foreign distributor can sell it. There's as many as like 60 active countries.
Right.
So instead of having like one United States of America, you've got Italy, Germany, Japan, Paris or France, and so so many more aspects. And even if they only pay $5,000 or $10,000 a territory, that can add up. If you sell 30 territories or whatever, domestically, there's still a chance. I mean, with the streaming, all the streaming platforms now, they need material. But it does help if you do have some kind of a name, whether it's a TV name. It's harder to get a theatrical, name, but, if you can attach any kind of name or somebody who writes songs like I did with Dolly Parton, you can get an actor that maybe is not as popular at the time, which was Ed Asner, but he was popular because it was a Christmas movie. If you've got an older part for an actress that might be in her 70s or 80s, or a male actor in his 70s or 80s that's not working a lot, that still has a name, you have to be creative. Be creative and think, who could I get that could be in this film? And then the best way to find distributors, again, go to film festivals. The American film market is probably the best way to find a distributor. So look up the American film market. And I believe last year they didn't do it. They did it through the internet. This year, I think it's going to be November, I believe. I believe it's going to be in person, and it will be at the Lowe's Hotel again. Is that not right?
If you go down there, you can get their program, and it has the lists of all the distributors in one publication that you can that are free.
Yeah. And if you get a badge, you can actually go from suite to suite, and all the distributors are there. All the independent.
The one-stop shop for all the distributors.
Yeah, it's like a convention for distributors, a worldwide convention for distributors. So
usually in November.
Yeah, and that's the place. That's the place.
And that's in Santa Monica. That's in our own backyard. So.
Yep. Yeah, if you're a filmmaker, you have to go there. If you don't,
now, it used to be a big party where you didn't have to go up to the suites. Everyone was around the bar or in the pool having lunch. Yep. And there was all the networking just going on in the lobby. Unfortunately, since COVID and everything, that's changed. And I think the distributors have scaled it back where, you really need a badge now. But back in the day, you could just talk to anybody.
Yeah. And
it's still a great place for networking, for sure.
Well, and also
changed a lot.
It's at the Lowe's Hotel, so they may put some of their events out in the back where the pool is now, Jeff, because instead of being in the lobby. So it's definitely worth looking into.
Or if you get a room there, then you got access to everything.
That's right. That's right.
There's a question, Brian. When you buy stock footage, how involved is it to color blend it with your own footage? You mentioned that you were able to color match it. So look, and it's a nighttime scene with Air Force One is on the ground, right?
Yeah. We really just had to do, it was what you call grading. So we just had to pull in, we had to give it a little bit more contrast and make it look a little bit more saturated. But today, with today's technology and software editing programs like Premiere.
DaVinci's a good one.
You can do it in DaVinci, you can do it in Premiere, you can do it in Final Cut Pro. Very easy to color correct. Even a novice can play around with the knobs and get it pretty close. But there's a lot of, anybody familiar with any of these editing programs can probably color correct them. It's as simple as getting a photograph and you color correcting it or fixing it on your smartphone. When you go and take a picture and you want to edit it and make it look a little bit sharper or play with the contrast, it's the same thing. All you're doing is trying to match it to some other footage so it looks like it was taken with the same camera. Very simple to do.
So Brian, a lot of producers and actors, there's a big controversy of union versus non-union. Well, SAG has made it so cheap that you can get decent actors for the same price as you used to be able to pay for, non-union actors. You want to talk to that briefly?
Yeah, there's also financial core, FICO is the short form for it. And what financial core is, it's actors that are actually union members, but they've taken themselves temporarily out of the union so that they can do non-union work without getting problems from the union. But as Jeff said, there's also, there's also small SAG
ultra low budget contracts.
Ultra low budget. The best one I know of is if you get a name actor. Let's say you get a really good name actor and they will not work non-union or FICO. Let's say you get somebody like Sandra. Let's say you're lucky enough to get Sandra Bullock. Okay, and she's, I'm going to do the film, but I can't do it non-union. The low budget, I think, will allow you to pay the union stars, and then you can have non-union people for supporting roles and for background, I believe. Is that right, Jeff?
There's so many contracts now. It's
it's
crazy, but there are certainly a lot more ways to make it work.
Yeah, where you can mix. You can mix
union and non-union, right?
Yeah, but you can do, like I said, non-union too, with people who are not in the union or people that are in the union that have taken themselves out temporarily. I think by going financial core, FICO, they just lose their voting rights, and a lot of people don't care about voting. So, it's all about that. It's up to the actor. And I've found there's a lot of actors that will do financial core at the same time. So
well, the key is getting recognizable faces in your film. And it amazes me, especially, with the film festival, we see these great films and it's, it looks, it smells, and it tastes like a real movie. But there's, obviously, if you're in Idaho, you may not have access to Hollywood actors, but it's amazing how, with everyone trying to get work, that they can't get one or two people, because it's so important. Because if you say no names, then a lot of times the distributors won't even talk to you. It doesn't matter how good the movie is, doesn't matter what the budget is, and how terrific it is. And it's sad, but that's the truth. And filmmakers need to be aware of that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because I'm developing a couple of projects right now, Jeff, and I will do the green light on the one that I can get a name attached to it. Whether it's a big name, a medium name, or a small name. As long as it's a name that a distributor will accept. And that's another thing too, is when you're talking to some distributors, say, I've got a list of names, or do you have a list of names of people that you would accept? That you would pick up my film if I got this name. And a lot of times in the foreign market, there's a lot of TV names, older TV names, that they will take, because a lot of these shows are still running, prime time in some of the foreign countries. So Jeff is absolutely right. You need a name of some kind to help you get distribution. It's a real gamble if you don't.
And I did, when I did Revamped, I got Billy Drago from The Untouchables, and I got Marty Cove, who's now in Cobra Kai and from the Karate Kid movies, and all these other guys, and Sam Jones from Flash Gordon. I'm still amazed at the names I got, but some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. But you get one. I got Marty Cove came on first, and then the next actor you go to, they go, "Oh, well, who else is in it?" And I go, "Well, Marty Cove's in it." They go, "Oh, I love Marty." Then they come on board. Then you got two names.
Right.
And the next actor you talk to, I got Marty Cove and Billy Drago, and they go, "Oh, okay, I'm in." So sometimes you get one, and that opens the door, because everyone wants to know who else is in it, right? Because they don't want to be the only name.
That's right. That's what happened with
In the
Undercover
film.
Angel.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Undercover Angel. Yeah.
You get one, and you can get more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Very
we're
true.
almost out of time. Anything else you want to talk about the book or push? How do they get the book, Brian? How do they get this fabulous book?
The book is available on Amazon. That's the best way to get it.
Filmmaking for Dummies.
Yeah, but if you do get it, make sure you get the 3rd edition, because it is updated. It is totally updated with, the latest digital equipment, digital cameras. Talks a little bit about virtual reality, 3D cameras, all that stuff. And I believe there's also a Kindle version, digital version, download version as well. So yeah, I mean, I read the reviews, make the decision for yourself, but
How much is it?
It's really, I think they have it discounted. I think it's between $9 and $14. I haven't looked lately, but it's very affordable. I think the Kindle.
That's so cheap for 1 ounce of information that is valuable for a filmmaker makes the whole book worthwhile. I mean, that's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's 421 pages, but like I said, it's all broken up into separate chapters. You don't have to read them in order. Everything, there's a chapter on storyboards, there's a chapter on writing, there's a chapter on genres, what genres to think about that maybe you could write. There's a chapter on how to find your cast, how to find your crew, director tips.
Somebody said they just ordered the newest version.
What's that?
There you go. You just sold one.
All right.
Someone already.
Well, and you know what? And it's not for me to make money, because I'll tell you guys honestly, I think I make like 10% off the book. It's not very.
There's not a lot of money in publishing.
It's not a lot of money. Now, mind you, in 20 years, it's done real good for me. Like it's supplemented. They've sold over a few 100,000 copies, so it's helped supplement my mortgage.
That's
So
a good
can you imagine if they gave me half?
Well, Brian, the thing is, what people don't realize is, all that information, 421 pages, that's your life.
Yep.
That's all the things you did right, all the things you did wrong. It's a lifetime of experience that it would take someone else 30 years to learn that information, all in one place right now. Here it all is, and I'm giving it to you for 10 or 15 bucks.
Yeah.
So,
If I was,
that's fantastic.
if I could buy my book when I was 12 years old,
Yeah, I would have.
it would have saved me a
Would
lot.
we all have done it before our first film?
Right.
Absolutely. One last thing. What do you want to tell everybody out there, Brian?
I want to tell you guys that the biggest thing, and the reason I even make movies, is to inspire people and believe in your dreams. That's probably the most important thing, is trust yourself, be inspired, and believe in your dreams. And if you believe you can do it, you can do it. Bottom line.
I always like to say, you can do and be anything you want in this world. Don't let anyone tell you you can't.
Exactly.
And don't ever take no for an answer. Bryan Michael Stoller, Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thanks
Got a
for
big
coming in.
clap from everybody.
Hopefully this has been helpful and inspirational.
And get the book. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time with the Burbank International Film Festival Filmmakers Series. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Take care.